From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. The Liberal leadership race is on. Last night, the party's National Board of Directors hammered out the initial rules, which include a deadline of January 23rd to declare and a $350,000 entry fee. Now, the board also tightened the rules around who will be eligible to vote in the race. If you want to have a say in the outcome, you must register as a Liberal member by January 27th, be a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or have status under the Indian Act, and be at least 14 years old. The winner of the contest will be announced March 9th. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he'll be running in the next election against Justin Trudeau, no matter who the Liberals pick as their next leader. The Prime Minister, of course, has already offered his resignation as Liberal leader once the party chooses a successor. Poilievre, however, says the contenders are all the same.
They're all Justin Trudeau. They're all just like Justin.
The next election must happen before October, but it's likely to be much sooner than that, with all opposition parties pledging to bring down the minority government in the spring. Two men who were leaders of the COVID-19 protest in Coutts, Alberta nearly 3 years ago will find out if they're going to be going to jail today. The Crown wants a 9-month sentence for Marco Van Hugenbos and 6 months for George Jansen. Van Hugenbos' lawyer, Brendan Miller, is hoping for some leniency.
Well, the worst-case scenario would be a term of incarceration of some kind. Best-case scenario is an absolute discharge, so that is the range of which is available to Justice Yamuchi, and as I believe you saw in my brief, I took a laddered approach.
A third man, Alex Van Herk, fired his lawyer and will be sentenced separately. The White House says U.S. President Joe Biden will deliver a capstone address to highlight some of his administration's most significant foreign policy achievements. The outgoing president is expected to use this Monday speech to spotlight efforts to expand NATO, rally allies to support Ukraine, and forge a historic agreement between Japan and South Korea. The one-term Democrat will also make the case for his worldview as Donald Trump prepares to return to the White House with plans to drastically overhaul American foreign policy. Britain's Treasury chief is traveling to China this weekend to discuss economic and financial cooperation between the countries. The UK's Labour government is hoping to reset frayed ties with Beijing. Rachel Reeves will travel to Beijing and Shanghai and will meet with her Chinese government counterpart. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey and the UK Financial Conduct Authority's chief executive will also be part of the British delegation. And finally, officials in Southern California say the Los Angeles wildfires have now claimed at least 10 lives. They also note that number could grow as the area's two biggest blazes continue to rage, leveling at least 10,000 structures. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the hapless Toronto Raptors remain mired in the NBA's basement when it comes to road records. Following last night's 132-126 loss to the league-leading Cleveland Cavaliers, the Raps are now 1-17 when away from home this season. In the NHL, the Toronto Maple Leafs ended up on the wrong side of a 6-3 decision with the Carolina Hurricanes. Elsewhere, the Ottawa Senators got blanked 4-0 by the Buffalo Sabres, and the Edmonton Oilers fall to Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins 5-3. Crosby's goal in that game moved him past Joe Sakic on the league's career goals list. Over to the MLB for some off-season news from the Toronto Blue Jays. The team and star slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. have avoided arbitration, signing a one-year deal worth $28.5 million U.S. And finally, in the NFL, league officials have moved the LA Rams playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings to Arizona due to the ongoing deadly California wildfires. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.